Ready? Everything is so much heavier now, more than it used to be. Everything is so much different now, so much has changed.
That is John Edwards live from Studio A. Well, welcome, John.
Yeah,
It's
happy to be here.
great to have you here. So I knew that you were young when we started this, or when I invited you to come on. I did not realize that you were senior in high school young.
Yeah, yep.
And obviously, you've been playing guitar. You know your guitar playing is wonderful. Is that where music started for you?
Well, it started about 6 months prior to that, and then when I'd heard about, because Harbor City has the string band and dance class, it focuses on like Appalachian folk music and like the dances around that, and I was like, well, that would be interesting to check out. So I ended up switching from Denfeld to Harbor City just solely for that class essentially, and I had a blast while doing it, and like that probably is where everything started. Is that class and learning that kind of music.
And so you obviously were interested in music
Mhm.
before that. What kinds of music were you listening to before that you moved to that?
Well, a lot of like John Prine and stuff.
Oh,
and,
okay. So you already kind of had that.
Yeah, I grew up
Foundation.
on folk music and
Mhm.
stuff. John Prine and Neil Young and Spider John stuff, and yeah.
So you were familiar with those things. Before the session here, you were talking about some music that you got your hands on from your grandparents. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So they about a year or two ago, they gave me their tape collection, and bunch of really good stuff was in there, and I mean that really opened the floodgates, I guess, with like being immersed within folk music and just older rock music in general. I mean there was like Ice House and like Hoodoo Gurus to Husker Du to like Spider John Kerner and stuff. Like it's really cool to be able to listen back and
What a great foundation
Yeah.
for musical listening. And obviously, artists like Spider John, just in your guitar style, and I'm going to assume at some point you found Charlie Parr along the way.
yeah.
I suspect that they maybe have influenced the direction that you've gone in. Is that
100%. I've
Mhm.
been listening to Charlie my whole life.
Mhm.
And so this has just been a really cool opportunity to be able to, open for him and, yeah.
And tell me about how are you just in your bedroom all the time playing, trying to learn different guitar
Pretty
things?
much, yeah. Yeah, that's what I spend most of my time doing.
Mhm.
And then I've been really getting back into like reading lately too. So it's been fun.
And does that influence? So you've written some songs as
Mhm.
well, and does that influence the songs that you're writing sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes I would
Mhm.
say. I mainly read music-focused biographies
Oh,
and
okay,
memoirs.
okay.
Um,
What's an interesting one that you think of one that you've read lately that?
Yeah, I'm reading The Mayor of McDougal Street right now, which is Dave Van Ronk's memoir, and that has just been really interesting to kind of read about his, adventure through, his words.
And I love this because these are some, kind of classic guys in that genre,
Yeah.
and I love that young people are still finding them
Yeah.
and learning from them and enjoying them. So that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah.
So you've done some home recordings, and you've done things, I think, as I mentioned, with Xander Ripley-Jaakola. So how do you two know each other? From school or
Yep,
from...
from
Okay.
school. And then, I had been kind of unintentionally seeing his family band for a while. I've been to a couple of those Duluth Does concerts, and they're usually there. I saw like a Duluth Does Willie Nelson one a couple of years ago, and I didn't even put two and two together. And then I started going to Harbor City, and I was like, where do I know that guy from? And then we ended up taking that string band and dance class together. So we just got really close from there, and yeah.
And he worked with you on, or you two performed together sometimes?
Yeah.
He produced your album?
We did like a week of music thing, he called it. So we essentially were just toting ourselves around to different open mics around town. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you play when you play with him? Do you do your own songs? Or
Mostly the Appalachian stuff, like the tunes that we know.
From when you were in the class?
He plays banjo, and then I play guitar.
Nice.
So, yeah.
All right. But so you were doing some recordings at home, right? Before this album, and do you have what kind of setup do you have?
My phone.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you're just recording things to your phone.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
But then what was the process for this latest album?
Basically, I had, I'd been over to Xander's house a couple times, and I was like, well, hey, I'm writing some new stuff, and I really want to be able to record it. And he's like, well, just come over to my house, and we'll do it in a day or two. And it ended up being done in like 3-4 hours, and yeah, it was a super cool experience.
Nice. And there's a lot of originals on there, right?
Yeah.
And then a few covers as well.
Yep.
And what did you choose to cover on that album?
So I did 2 traditionals and then a cover of Rising River Blues by George Carter. And I found out about that song through Todd Albright at a show that I went to of his and Charlie's, actually, at the Northerly last August or September.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, popped out of both of their sets, because it was just completely different than anything I'd ever heard before.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the Northerly has been having some great performances there, and also for someone your age, I imagine the fact that it's an all ages opportunity is important as well. Well, what do you want to play next for us?
I'm gonna play John Henry off of my new album.
All right.
Yeah. So. Was little baby sitting down on his daddy's knee. Picked up a hammer and a little piece of steel. The hammer's gonna be the death of me. The hammer's gonna be the death of me. Captain said to John Henry, gonna bring that steam drill down. Bring that steel drill down, oh Lord. Gonna whoop that steel on down. Gonna whoop that steel on down. With a hammer in my hand. about 15 feet now. And the steam drill made 9. Hammered so hard he broke his heart. He laid down his hammer and died. Laid down his hammer and died.
John Edwards live from Studio A, and John Henry, and that is from his album. And what's the name of your album?
Songs from the Bottom Shelf.
Songs from the Bottom Shelf. And why was it called that?
I don't really know. It doesn't really have a meaning to it. I just thought it sounded cool.
Mm-hmm.
So
nice. And was it hard to figure out what songs to include on there?
No. I had kind of had an idea, kind of a general idea, and then just kind of filled it in from there. So, yeah.
And have you been songwriting as long as you've been playing guitar? Did that come later?
That came before.
Okay.
So I had started out playing the drums, actually.
Oh, okay.
And taking some drum lessons, and then so that went on for a few months, and then I'd taken up kind of an interest in, playing guitar. And so what those drum lessons turned into was basically talking music and talking about artists that the teacher liked, and then, some jams on guitar.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And how did that evolve into songwriting?
I don't know. I was bored at home
Mm-hmm.
one day, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and I started writing some stuff, and it just kind of, stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a whole summer. This was right at the end of a school year, and then I did nothing but play guitar and write songs for a whole summer.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a good exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I imagine through the course of the summer, did you feel yourself getting better?
Yeah, somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you haven't been performing publicly that long, have you?
No. My first public performance was last year at a talent show for school. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Were you nervous? How was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It did not go well.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I was doing a cover of John Prine's How Lucky,
Mm-hmm.
and I had forgotten the words about halfway through, and
Mm-hmm.
then ended up dropping an F-bomb
Uh-oh.
halfway through the performance. And so it's on recording. There's a big gasp, So,
Well, thank you for not doing that here today.
yeah.
But you're doing great. You're doing great.
Thank you.
So how do you go from, just starting out not that long ago to opening for Charlie Parr?
I don't know, just like right place at the right time. I guess how I got in contact with Charlie is I kind of had went up to him after that show. And we've known each other intermittently for the past decade now.
Mm-hmm.
And that all kind of started when I was seeing, he was on a bill with the Boomchucks and Retribution Gospel Choir and a few other people, and this was at a 2011 Love Your Mother Earth Fest down at Leif Erikson Park, and I essentially stage dove Charlie Parr. I was 6.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
you must have been awfully young.
And then asked him to play my favorite song at the time, which was Jubilee off of that album. And, he's remembered me, and, yeah.
Wow. So that's amazing. So already back then, at that
Yeah.
age, you were into that kind of music.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to assume your parents had something to do with it. Just going to mention your
Yeah.
mom is here in the room right
100%.
now.
She had a great effect on, the
Mhm.
music that I listened to, and
Mhm.
my dad had an effect on that, too, on, the harder rock side of that from, the 60s and 70s, so...
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for parents and sometimes older siblings with good taste.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming in today. We have time for one more. What do you want to
Okay.
wrap up with, John?
Sounds good. I'm going to play a new one. This one's not on the new album either. And it's an instrumental. So this one's called On the Fly.
That is John Edwards live from Studio AA and playing a new instrumental from him. Did you say the name of that one?
On the Fly.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, On the Fly. And nice 12-string that you have there.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that your preferred guitar? Do you play other ones as well?
Yeah, I have a 6-string that I wrote my first album on, and a little EP I put out in October. That was all on that 6-string, and yeah.
So what do you envision for yourself as a musician moving forward?
I really just hope to be able to, keep making music and stuff, and kind of, in a way, have that influence on, people, like the big influences on myself, like Charlie, and, having that pivotal moment at that festival, and just kind of clicking. And yeah.
You're awfully lucky to have such a pivotal moment so young. Sometimes it takes people a while to figure out what they want to do, but you've got that gift. Well, thank you so much, John. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you will be back in throughout the years, because I suspect that you're just going to keep doing this and getting better and better. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Today's Live from Studio A was produced by me, Christine Dean, with help from Megan McGarvey, and funding provided by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. This is Live from Studio A on the North 103.3. Thanks for listening.